Salibonani bazalwane. Sitha rangu ndinonzi Pastor-in-Formation Zano. Some call me Noti. Some call me just Zano. All is the same to me. I'm a minister here, student third year, and I'm coming from the Evangelical Lutheran Church in Zimbabwe. And I'm really excited to be here, being formed under this wonderful theological college that has produced wonderful theologians, leaders, and pastors who have impacted the community. So, well, it's really a blessing and a privilege to be here today. So many people ask me this question: why did you choose United Theological College out of all the colleges that you could think of? Imagine, when I came here, I was coming from South Africa, where I could get various opportunities to study wherever I wanted. But I chose United Theological College mainly because this is more of a historical place for me, a place where mama wangu pawakauya college ndakabva ndatorumurwa because of this place. So it's really a place that I'm attached to. And secondly, it is a place that has produced wonderful theologians that I envy. And kutowea panapa, it's a wonderful opportunity. Lastly, this is a college where you get to meet different people from different backgrounds, different denominations, and you have to lay aside all your differences, and you learn about God and you share your experiences. And this is actually what I thought is needed in the society, where people should lay aside all their differences and become one. The church, from its inception, yagara iri a community of believers who have made impact to the society, and you could not separate the operations of the church and how the society has to operate. Actually, we are the salt of the earth. It is our duty to impact the society that is around us. So from my standing point, I think you cannot separate the church and the society. And for this reason, it is the church that should lead issues of social justice, to make sure that those who are underprivileged, they actually get the opportunity to shine brighter in this community. And because of that, for the past, since 2022, as the country was preparing for elections, I made sure that I would share the word of God, even per pulpit, and as I would interact with people, that the church should take the leading role in pursuing social justice and encouraging people to be at peace. Think of it, Zimbabwe have got a record of political violence, and the church is made up of people who are coming from different societies, and these are the congregates who fight against one another. And after elections, what comes next is we as the church, we now have to plan programs to say, okay, peace and reconciliation, yet we could have just avoided these conflicts by preaching the gospel of peace. So I've made sure that every sermon that I've preached, I've been touching the issues of avoiding violence, and especially politically linked violence. And during the election period, I've also played an important role. I was an observer under ZCC, and I've seen kuti zvakakosha for the church to stand and see that even the marginalized, those who think they don't have power or authority or the will to perform, they are protected by the eye of the church. So yeah, the church is the society, and the church is the protector of the society. The church and the society should not be separated. One of the theological debates in the time that we are is whether the church should be involved in the issues of politics. I mean, is there any separation between the church and politics? But personally, I believe any human being is a political being. So you cannot separate a human being from politics. And for this reason, I've actually got interested in the church, from the way I see it, should be involved in politics, but not necessarily for the sake of just being involved, but to make an impact, a positive impact out of Some people say politics is a dirty game. So the question would be, so where are those players who are not dirty to play the game so that we can actually purify the game? So personally, theologically, looking at different perspectives, theologians, I would think of Martin Luther and Kuti, my Christians, vanofana kuva involved in taking responsibilities, the government and all that. And he was actually speaking against my Anabaptists. I tell that they should be separate and Christians should not participate in politics. But Martin Luther knows that if my responsibilities, these responsibilities are leading a person to sin, then Christians should separate themselves from that particular thing. So from the way I see it, I think we as theologians, we should participate in politics to make an impact and to make sure that we clean the political sphere of all the negative things that we hear of. We hear of political violence, we hear of corruption, we hear of a number of things that are linked to politics. And I think if a Christian rise and say, I'll take the lead, then it means Christ will be at the center and the head of leadership, be it a political party. And this will make a positive impact. So in terms of theology, that is a subject that I feel we as theologians, we should continue to look at it and continue to pursue this idea that if not a Christian, who else should do that? So, Kueapana Papa United Theological College, meeting people from different backgrounds, different denominations. They found it mostly difficult to integrate with others. But for me, it has been easier. Why? Because of my background. Like what I said earlier on, my mother is a pastor, and the church kwedu, after every 5 years, you have to move from one parish to the next parish, which literally means that the bulk of my life, I've been moving from different places, meeting different people with different ideas, different ethnic backgrounds, values and all that. And because of that, any person to me is the same despite maonera akasiyana nema understandings akasiyana. Why? Because I've grown to know that people are different, and this has been my life. And being Manamfundis, people also expect you to behave in a certain way, which sometimes you fail to. But even if you fail, you get to know, well, these people are different from the people I met last time. And because of that, you also understand and you also learn to tolerate them as they are. And this has actually influenced my ministry. Because, as a pastor, you also meet different people. And as you meet those different people, you also have to learn to appreciate them out of their diversity. And I'm thankful ne background yangu nini sema nomfundisi, because when I look at it, I see people being equal in the eyes of God, despite their political affiliations and all that, because we've always been taught from my family background that a person should be neutral and should not should not judge others based on their understanding. So when I look at my background, I see a strong foundation for a solid and sound Christian belief. Even in any circumstance and in any situation, I'm actually able to maneuver through. Why? Because people, even their diversity, they've got one thing in common. We are human beings and we learn to tolerate one another. So now I was trying to write this book, and I'm sure I'm going to finish it. With the title Yokuti, It's Not Always Intentional, where I'm talking about people should learn to tolerate one another out of their my weaknesses, because it's not always intentional that people are different. And this, I'm thankful to my background that made me to understand that people munhu akatongosiyana. Yeah, so being here per UTC, this is my 3rd year, by the way, and I realized kuti the person I was when I started and who I am today is totally different. I've grown to understand more and more about theology, and this has been made possible by having an open mind to learn and to also hear other people's views. And this is my advice to those who are still here at United Theological College, that you should not have a closed mind. Think of things outside the box. If you don't agree with something, air out your view and hear other people's views, and you will never go wrong. Why? Because different people have got different encounters, and because of that, tinotokura as we look at our different understanding about God. So I encourage those who are still around to say, okay guys, have an open mind and you see how wonderful this place is. And to those who are still battling, should I go to college, ministerial formation and all that, my advice is the advice that I was given by my bishop, Bishop N. Shava, when I was coming here, when I applied and the church approved my papers. He called me in and he said to me, Noti, don't expect money, but ibasa renyasha. And because ibasa renyasha, you will never lack, you will never struggle, but everything will make sense. Even when you think that life doesn't make sense, it will make sense. Why? Because ibasa renyasha. So this is the same advice I would give to those who are battling with the call. Good guys, don't worry about the things that are surrounding us, and all that. You know, I love people who always say they do deg. Because ibasa renyasha, he akatanga basa rakanaka maritiri. He will always make sure to no pera. So don't worry. So guys, this is the place to be.